Good day, everyone. Liam again here. Um, it's a Sunday, early Sunday afternoon, or a bit after midday on a Sunday. And I've just got back home from. I went down to the basketball courts and I was shooting hoops for a couple of hours, and it's just a fun hobby for me that I do. And I've been trying to find avenues for me to get into what they call psychologists would call a flow state, or getting into the zone, or just getting so tapped into where time falls away and you're just totally present in what you're doing. And for me, I'm able to do that when I play basketball or if I go to the gym, or of course meditation has helped me to be able to get into those states and recognize when I'm in those states more often. But today I want to talk about anger. And for a lot of young men out there, I know that they would be struggling, and I know because I have been and I've been there. Like, not necessarily as much these days, still happens, but because I'm 25 now, but especially in my late teenage years when I was full of testosterone, I still would hope that I am. But anyway, yeah, like in my late teenage years, and I was an angry young man full of hormones and all that sort of stuff, and I didn't know that there were outlets, healthy outlets, where you could, vent your anger in a in a way that was not destructive, or, not that I went out and sought out, fights and went to intentionally fight people. I never did that. I've never been a person who's gone out especially to fight. Like, that there were many times in my, like, well, I'll just say it now. I had a fake ID when I was 16. So I was born in 1997, and in Australia, they brought out these things when I was 18. So just after I'd turned 18, praise the Lord, I'd had a fake ID for 2 years, but then I'd had my legitimate ID because the drinking age here is 18. And they brought out these scanners so that you couldn't get into a club or a pub or anywhere, that a licensed venue that sold alcohol and whatnot, unless you could prove with your ID that it was a legit ID and you were 18. So luckily, I got away for the last 2 years that were possible in this country to have a fake ID. I got away with it for the last 2 years, so that was pretty cool. So I was clubbing from, the age of 16 to around, I kind of got over it when I was about 19 or 20. And for those 4 years, there was many times where I went out with my mates or girls or whatever. I was out with people, and I noticed these guys would come out intentionally to, like, in a group of dudes, would intentionally come out to start a fight. And I was like, what the fuck, man? Like, I'm trying to just have fun. I'm trying to drink, dance, maybe, meet a girl, of course. That's, as a young man, that's very high on your agenda if you're single. And that was my intention. And then there was these dudes that would come out intentionally to start fights, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Like, man, like, and of course, because, I'm not trying to be up myself, but I was one of the sort of bigger fellas in my mate group and my friend group and whatnot. And so they would always target the biggest dude, or one of the, the bigger dude in the group. And so there was a number of times, literally like 4 or 5 times, I got king hit. And I was like, fuck, I'd stumble back. I'd be like, fuck. After a few times that it happened, I was like, oh, not this again. And then, like, yeah, like, of course, fucking no doubt, there was 4 or 5 dudes there trying to start a fight and trying to take me and my mates on. And I was like, for fuck's sakes, man, like, come on. Sorry for my swearing, but it was just getting to the point where it was ridiculous. This was in Surfers Paradise on the Gold Coast where I grew up. Like, I grew up on the Gold Coast, and that's where all the clubs were in Surfers. I used to go to a club where back in the day it was a real sort of trippy, sort of spiritual jungle type vibe. It was called Elsewhere, and that was the only club I'd go to because all the other clubs just bored me. They were just sort of mainstream and played boring music, which I'd heard a million times, and they played the same week in, week out for about 4 or 5 years when I was clubbing. But yeah, so I was bored of that. But like there were some cool people that we used to come to elsewhere, and like, you know, there'd be obviously psychedelics going on and MD, and you know, when pingers were big, pingers, ecstasy, and all that sort of shit. And I got into that, but um, there came a point where I was just like, nah, man, like there's better places to go if I want to dance and meet girls and cool people and vibe with other humans than going into surface paradise where I'm likely to get king hit by some dude who just wants to come out and show off his ego and show that he's the alpha and he's the man and try and deck some dude. Like, dude, I used to play rugby union, rugby league, and cricket all my life, and you know, sport, and there's better outlets to do shit like that than to go clubbing and try and fight someone out in public. Like, this is for people, young men who are angry. Go to the gym, man. Like, learn how to train, fucking fight. Like, go to the boxing. Like, learn. There's so many cool sports where you can take out your anger and your testosterone and your unharnessed fucking, you know, rage and aggression that you've been holding on to since a young boy than to go out and try and fight someone out in public. That's just fucking stupid. That is stupid. And I've been stupid. And you know, like, don't get me wrong, I retaliated in those instances where I got king hit. And, you know, there was a fight, and a few times I got arrested for public nuisance, shit like that. It happened. But, like, I never went out intentionally to start a fight and to fuck someone up because to prove that I'm the fucking alpha. Like, that's just fucking absolutely ridiculous. But like, dude, like, just broaden your horizons. There's so many. As an ignorant, naive young man who I was and still am, but not to as much of an extent as when I was in my teenage years, you know, like, there's so many healthy avenues and outlets you can go and vent your anger, and there's ways you can channel that anger. Anger is a very productive emotion. Don't get me wrong. It's something that if you are able to harness it and channel it and release it into something that is going to be beneficial for you and your growth as a young man and a man, then by all means, grab onto it. But you've got to be able to use that anger in a productive, healthy way. And that's something that it's taken me a long time to learn how to do. But, like, go to the gym, or, you know, and so this is when I go to the gym, it's almost a meditative experience for me because, you know, I go in there, I might be holding on to a lot of anger or rage or, you know, suppressed emotions that I need to release, and I'll be aware of that, and I'll go to the gym, and I'll go and I might start with deadlifts. Say I'm doing back or legs, I might do squats or something, you know, a real hectic fucking, you know, high intensity exercise like that, where I can just, in the set, I'll go heavy, I'll lift, and I'll be intense. I'll be really intense. I'll let all that anger out, and I'll just channel it. And I've found a way to be able to just use that into it, put it into a set. And then as soon as the set's finished, I put the weight down. I'm back to calm, you know, easygoing Liam again. And that's something that I think a lot of young men are, in this society, in this day and age, we're not really shown how to do that. And we're sort of almost told that by society and by our school teachers and our parents and everyone who sort of raises us and is an influence on our childhood and becoming men, that we're not supposed to, it's not okay to be angry. You know, it's not healthy. It's never okay to be angry. But there are places and ways to let out that anger in healthy ways, and so that, you know, it doesn't get suppressed and repressed, and then, you know, you might take it out in a fight with, you know, a partner of yours or your parent or your cousin or someone who, you know, you have a meaningful relationship that you value, and you could potentially ruin that in one moment because you've let out all your anger. Like, that's never on. And that's the way that society goes about teaching young men that it's not okay to be angry ever. That's sort of what's going to be happening more and more, because if we suppress and hold on to our emotions and bottle them up and don't have a healthy outlet to let go of them, then that's what happens. Like, they build up, and then boom, the shackles break, and, you know, it might not even be anything worthy of getting angry or, going into a rage over, but it all just comes out because you've been holding on to it for so long. So, yeah, I just wanted to say to, the young guys out there who might have a lot of suppressed emotions and anger, especially, that they're holding on to, and don't feel like it's okay to let that out in any way, that, it is okay. There's many outlets. Say if you, especially hobbies, like, for me, basketball, just today, playing basketball for 2 hours, like, that was a huge release for me. Like, just doing things like that, you get into a flow state. You can just channel all your, the more you do it, the more you're able to harness those negative emotions and channel them into something, an outlet that is healthy and beneficial and productive for you and your health. And so, for me, it was the gym and playing footy and training and rugby league, cricket, all that. That was probably saved my life in my teenage years. But these days, I recognize that, there's always going to be that anger and those suppressed emotions that if you don't have a healthy outlet and an avenue to release, then it will come out in a very unhealthy and ugly way if you don't allow it out, in a positive way. So I just thought I'd mention that, and yeah, hope you all have a wonderful day.